It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you.
Welcome in on a Monday to the Sports Blitz. Thank you for joining us here in the Cogswell Motors studio. Mark Freeman and Maddie Lassiter here to bring you the latest in local, statewide, and national sports. We're going to look at the college football landscape. Razorbacks fell to 3-2 on the season Saturday, but it was, in a lot of respects, a positive night for Razorback fans. Those of us that watched the game, Maddie was in attendance. It was odd because although they lost, I think most people left with a lot more confidence, a lot more hope, as Maddie put it there, in the Razorbacks after a game where you could see flashes. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. Jason Kilburn's going to come on 11:30, and he's going to talk with us about the Razorbacks, the game there. He was actually on a cruise, didn't get to watch. We got to watch the game, but he didn't get to go, and he's got season tickets. So I want to see what he thought about how the other half lived as far as not getting to go to the game, but getting to watch it. I turned down tickets, and Maddie went in my place, and he was excited about it. But, hey, I didn't want to sit in the rain, didn't want to get home at midnight and have to go to church early the next morning. I stand by my decision. Either way, it was a fun game to watch, and we'll talk about the things we loved, the things we hated, and what we want to. And today, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want to say negative, but I was critical last week of a lot of different things. You could probably say negative. Some people would, I'm sure. But for the past couple weeks, I've been pretty critical of the Razorbacks' performance in games. You know, the Rutgers game, for instance, the way that they weren't able to perform to the standard I thought that they should have against a team that they got up 24-7 and let it slip. You can call it what you will, but it was a choke. And this week, watching the Razorbacks take on Texas A&M and Johnny Manziel, they showed me a little fight that I didn't know that they really had. They showed me a lot of stuff that, it just, to be honest with you, I wasn't sure was there. I was glad to see Brandon Allen come back and play. I was happy with a lot of different things. I'm giving you away some of my love. But there are things I loved, things I hated, and I'll get to that here in just a little bit. Watching NFL yesterday, I didn't get to watch a whole lot, but the Denver Broncos, wow, still pretty good. Peyton Manning on a streak right now, 16 touchdowns, no interceptions through 4 games. They're obviously first in the league in a lot of categories, but watching here at ESPN, they're first in passing yards, 363 yards a game, and they're giving up only 74 yards rushing a game. If you're able to stop the run and then put on the board, you can't really stop that kind of team. And Peyton Manning, 1,470 yards passing, 16 touchdowns through 4 games. Averaging 4 touchdowns a game, incredible. I don't have the math skills to add that up right now. But Maddie, what's 16 times 4? That's 24. Carry the 2. It's like 72 or some crap. It's just a ton of touchdowns. Let me do some math real quick. That's what he's on pace for. It's still video game numbers. And I made the joke the other day that Peyton Manning's on pace 64. Yeah, I was close. Peyton Manning's on pace for 64 touchdown passes this year, and those are video game numbers that I couldn't even put up playing a video game, and he's doing it in real life. It's incredible what he's doing, and it's fun to watch. We're watching greatness. And on the other side of things, the NFC least, that's the opposite of greatness. Watched my Cowboys yesterday blow a 21-10 lead to the San Diego Chargers, letting Phillip Rivers throw for 400 yards when Phillip Rivers looks for creative ways to screw things up and blow games, and takes a win when the Cowboys had a chance with everybody else in the division. Well, I say everybody else. The Redskins came back and won against the Oakland Raiders, but with a chance to extend their lead in the division or at least hold the lead against Washington, they fell. And I think that's going to be the worst division in football, and I think it goes without saying right now when you look at the records that Dallas wins that division, and it's going to be one of those show them what you've won type things, and it's not going to be worth much. But Dallas has a chance to win that division, and for us Cowboys fans, we'll take any hope we can get. They need all the help they can get to do the same. So anyway, we also had a good weekend in high school football, though not as many teams have won this last week as have in the past. We had one week with 9 of the 10 teams 9 of the 10 teams that we cover won in 1 week. Last week, obviously some of these teams were playing one another, so it didn't happen quite that way. But we did have a pretty decent week in football. I was very blessed that our featured game of the week turned out to be the best game of the week. Arguably, the Cedarville-Atkins game was a really good one, but Lamar-Lavaca, we'll get to here in just a minute, was a really good one. But let's start our Peters Family Living local sports look with the Russellville Cyclones. Got down early to the Conway Wampus Cats on the road. Were not able to completely overcome that early deficit. Lost 35-24, but it was a good game for the Russellville Cyclones, playing a team that when tournament or playoff time comes will be a 7A school, big rivalry game, and the Conway Wampus Cats were able to overcome our Russellville Cyclones 35-24. Still a pretty good game overall. 3 early interceptions doomed the Cyclones, and as I mentioned, they weren't able to overcome them, although it was a valiant fight and a good effort from those guys to get it back to being a game. I think it was 28-24, and they had a chance, but they weren't able to get over the hump. The Cyclones host Northside this week. We'll break down that game in a little bit of detail later on in the week, and look forward to hopefully another Cyclones win as they get back on the right track. Coming down the stretch here, the Cyclones' schedule sort of eases up a little bit, relatively speaking. They're going to be in conference, and they're going to play some of the Little Rock teams. And if you know anything about the Little Rock teams right now, for the most part, they're not very good. You got North Little Rock, but most of them aren't very good. You got Hall, Central, and those schools that are just struggling right now, Parkview, and Russellville's got several of them on the schedule. They close the season with Greenwood, and that one's going to be tough because Greenwood is very, very good as usual. But the schedule, relatively speaking, lightens up a little bit for the Cyclones coming up. Northside will be a good game this week, will be a test, but the Cyclones host them at Cyclone Stadium, so get out and watch them play on Friday night. Another game, I went and watched Pottsville for the first time this year, and they got a 49-14 win over the Subiaco Trojans. Michael Perry, he's, as Coach Russ told us before, and as Coach Garrett Hill told us when he came in and visited with us, when he steps on the field, for the most part, he's the best player on the field in 4A. Pretty much every time he steps on the field, and Coach Russ told us when he played, the only time that he hasn't been the best player on the field is when they played Pulaski Academy. They had a running back, they had Hunter Henry, they had I almost called him Kyle Frazier. His name is Freddie Knighton, and he's at Arkansas State. But they had a couple players who were Michael Perry level, but when he steps on the field, he's just incredible to watch. And he did another Michael Perry-esque game. He had another Michael Perry game on Friday night. He threw the ball well. He ran the ball well. He played well on defense. I was impressed with Josh Duggar. That was a fun one to watch from him because he had 2 long touchdowns where, he'd make somebody miss, and you see this little white kid running around the corner, and somebody comes up, and he just stops on a dime and cuts around him and cuts by somebody else and gets in the end zone, and it's just like, whoa, did that just happen? And then his brother Jake came in and played a little quarterback at the end of the game, so it was a good win for the Pottsville Apaches. I enjoyed myself watching them, and this week, our featured game of the week, it's no surprise because looking at these other games, there are some good ones. Danville, Cedarville will be a good one. Hector hosting Magazine will be a good one. Two Rivers hosting Fountain Lake will be a good one. But this week's game of the week, without question, is Pottsville at Dardanelle. The undefeated Sand Lizards, the undefeated Apaches. Now, Dardanelle's going to be without their quarterback, I believe, who is still out with a broken arm for another couple weeks. But with these two teams in the last couple of years, it's sort of inched closer and closer where the Sand Lizards have kind of grown into the system, grown into the style. They've got players who are able to make plays now that weren't necessarily in the past. And the Apaches, the gap sort of closed a little bit on that one. It'll be very interesting to see if having home field advantage, they're playing at Keenan Field, if the Dardanelle Sand Lizards will be able to overcome a conference nemesis. And now they got that new road built in between Dardanelle and Pottsville. It's nothing to get across there. It's 15 minutes. When it would have normally been twice that. But obviously it's such a short commute from one place to the other. It's been a rivalry. A lot of those kids meet in Russellville, and they talk about how much better we are than you, and it's a fun rivalry. But this week in Dardanelle, that'll be our River Valley Leader featured game of the week. Ryan Smith will be on hand. I may even go to that game as well. I'll probably go to Russellville North Side for a little bit and then make my way to the end of the Dardanelle-Pottsville game, but I look forward to that one. We'll try to get on some coaches or players this week who can preview that game a little bit with us. I know what, for the most part, their game plans are going to be. Pottsville, their ground and pound, dead tee offense, they're going to try their best to impose their will on Dardanelle, and Dardanelle's going to want to try to keep them from running down their throats, and then also play enough, give enough respect to the passing game that Perry doesn't just rise up and throw one over the top for an easy touchdown. But that's easier said than done. And then on the other side, Pottsville's defense hasn't really been as tested as they're going to be this week. Dardanelle, and they've got Josh Price, head coach, former quarterback at Arkansas Tech, a great offensive mind who is going to get his guys in position to make plays. They're a tough smash mouth team as well, but they like to fling it around a little bit too. So it's going to be a fun game. These two teams, they're not going to trick one another, for lack of a better term. They're going to come right at one another, and by the end of the night, you're going to know a little bit more about both of these teams, and that's exciting when you get into conference action. And instead of it being, let's just keep the playbook sort of shrunk down and let's not show anything, that's all out the window this week. You're going to get to see what these teams have to offer, and I look forward to it. Clarksville, we mentioned Dardanelle. They beat Dover 45-10 on Friday night. The Clarksville Panthers fell to Alma. It was a tough one from a Panthers, 47-0. They got Huntsville this week at home. They hope to get a win there. Huntsville is improved over the last few years. But the Panthers, I believe it's homecoming. They've got a Spirit Week going on this week. They've got kids dressed up as superheroes today at the school, so hopefully it improves school spirit this week. Not that it's been bad. The Jungle, the student section, has done a pretty good job of keeping folks fired up, and hopefully they have something to be fired up about this week as the Huntsville, the Eagles come into town, and hopefully the Panthers can do what Panthers do to Eagles. They just knock them out the air, Maddie. They find that eagle flying across low, and they just paw them down. We'll see. We'll see if that happens on Friday night. Lamar, we mentioned that was our featured game of the week, and it turned out to be a doozy as Warriors got down 21-0 just quick in that game. Talked to Coach Jones on Friday, and I didn't want to say it when he mentioned it, but it struck a chord with me when he said that he knew that some of his players had Charleston circled on the schedule, on the calendar already. I thought, oh dear, you start scheduling or circling a team on your schedule 4, 5, 6 weeks from now, and you skip over some of those teams. Not saying that they weren't prepared for these guys, but their mind is sort of seeking ahead and thinking about that game coming up in the next few weeks. I feel like that Lavaca got their attention early on. It was 21-0 before they really even knew what happened. Lamar got the opening kickoff, goes 3 and out, has to punt. Lavaca, from all indications I've heard, just ran it down their throat for a touchdown. And then Lamar has to punt back to Lavaca 3 plays later. They run it down their throat again, score a touchdown. It's 14-0. Lavaca kicks an onside kick and gets it, scores again, and it's 21-0. And Lamar fans on homecoming are just looking around like, what in the world just happened? And it's one of those things where you got to give them a lot of credit. When you get punched in the mouth like that quick, it's easy to just say, well, it's not our night. We've got a lot of distractions with homecoming and the folks walking out with their parents, and I have to escort this girl, or I have to do this, and these are my responsibilities through the week. But give a lot of credit to those Lamar Warrior players. They came back, fought back, and the next thing I heard, it was 21-18 in the first half as Lamar scored 3 touchdowns, failed on 3 two-point tries because they were having trouble kicking the ball in practice through the week, and they just didn't have any confidence in their kicker. But they find a way to come back, and as it's 34, it was 34-31 or 34-30, whatever the score was, and Lamar was able, I think it was 34-32, they were able to block a punt and return it for a touchdown, go up 38-34, and they held Lavaca on a late drive there and won the game. It was an intense game, and you'll have to go look at Ryan Smith's story at rivervalleyleader.com. He did a good job. Got some photos as well. Congratulations to those guys, especially Seth Campbell, one of my youth kids at church, had a touchdown catch at 37 yards, also recovered a fumble. Congratulations to him and the Warriors on the win. Atkins falls 21-20 in a heartbreaker to Cedarville in overtime. They've got Lavaca this week. We mentioned Dover falling to Dardanelle. They travel to Mena this week. Danville lost to Charleston. They've got Cedarville this week. A tough stretch for the Little Johns. Hector won 43-7 this Friday over Western Yale County. They host Magazine this week. And Two Rivers beats Horatio 25-12. They've got Fountain Lake, tough test on Friday night. Arkansas Tech fell 44-34 to fall to 2-2. They lost to Nicholls State. They are traveling to UAM on Saturday at 3 o'clock kickoff in that one. We've got plenty more in sports to talk about. Stay with us after the break.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KRK4 today.
I almost did it. I almost did the Colonel Reb is crying. Yo, 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 football. Oh, man, for those of you that are big Ole Miss Rebels fans, former head coach Ed Orgeron, oh, you got to go YouTube. Colonel Reb is crying. It was about Ed Orgeron and how much the fan base hated his guts. His Cajun-speaking head football coach. He was a great recruiter, but a terrible head football coach. Yo, 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 football. It was so funny. You have to YouTube it. The reason I bring that up is because Ed Orgeron is now the interim head coach of the USC Trojans. Lane Kiffin out. They got a couple-month jump on Texas. USC did. I heard a lot of people saying that's why they did it, because they wanted to have a couple-month jump on Texas in finding a head coach. So, you know, to me, it was a long time coming, and it was one of those things that you saw the writing on the wall before the year started. If Lane Kiffin wasn't able to get things together very quickly, turn things around this year, he was going to be out. If there wasn't a change in the mentality of the team, just really showing it on the field and off, USC was going to go in another direction. Although AD Hayden was talking about how I was 100% behind him until that game. Really. You were 100% behind him until that game, and then you decided to fire him. How quickly can 100% move to 0%? In just one game, I believe you're wrong. It was just funny to me because Lane Kiffin, they had a couple weeks ago this players-only meeting that he didn't know about. They were asking him, what about this players-only meeting? He's just like, I hadn't heard anything about it. And it was just one of those things where it undermined him, which you needed all you could get as far as USC players getting on the same page. Your coach wasn't going to help you at all. But he's been fired. Now Texas, Maddie brought to mind this Earl Kimball. It was on Twitter a minute ago that he has basically said, it's time for Mack Brown to be removed or step down. And when you've got a powerful alumni as far as guys who were all-time greats that are basically standing up and saying it's time for you to go, talk about the writing on the wall. It's all over for Mack Brown. It's coming down around him. And whenever, the season ends, there's going to be a bidding war for guys like Nick Saban. You're not going to see Chip Kelly come back, although the Eagles do stink. I think there's still a show cause penalty against him, which means he can't coach in college football till at least December of 2014, January of 2015, if I'm not mistaken. It's a big. Chris Peterson's not going anywhere. If he were going to go somewhere, he would have come. I'm not saying that this because I'm an Arkansas fan, but Arkansas could have probably offered him a whole lot of money, and not as much as Texas could, obviously, or USC even. Well, that's probably close. USC, as crazy as it sounds, Arkansas could probably offer quite a bit of money compared to what USC would be willing to offer. Almost said baseball. I'm looking at a picture here. A football coach, but it'll be interesting to see who they go after. Is it a Kevin Sumlin, who no more Johnny Manziel after this year? Johnny Manziel's going pro, by the way. And what is he going to do? Is he going to stay in the SEC meat grinder? Does he want to go out west and just dominate, which I believe he would do in short order? The Pac-12, although Stanford and Oregon are both very well off and firm-footed right now, it'd be interesting to see if you add Kevin Sumlin to that mix and he's able to put in the style of play that he has at Texas A&M and what he's learned from being in the SEC these 2 years. I'd love to get him out of Texas A&M and let them go back to stinking like they should. That would be wonderful. But it'll be interesting to see where the coaching carousel takes us and what dominoes fall, because you're going to see somebody move from this school to this school, and then somebody's going to take their place, and you're going to have hot names that pop up and guys that you're just like, what? But will it be a Will Muschamp that ends up at Texas? Go from Florida to Texas, it'd be a hard sell for me. I know there's a lot of zeros that they can put in there, but Florida is not broke. They may have to up the ante for a Will Muschamp. It just depends on who his agent is, I think. If it's Sexton, you can about guarantee that Will Muschamp's about to get paid. So he'll find a way to hold your whole program hostage and get some more money for his guy. But I found that interesting that Lane Kiffin was canned. To break up the football for just a moment, because I know we're going to talk a little more football here in just a second. I saw it was interesting this morning that the NBA has, I think the Rules Committee has submitted to the powers that be a sort of proposal to change the NBA Finals format back to a 2-2-1-1-1 rather than a 2-3-2 format, because really, if you take one of the two games, if you're the road team and you take one of the two games on the opponent's floor, like Miami did to Oklahoma City year before last, you can close it out at home, which they did. And it's not really fair to the home team, because even if they win a game, they're not going back home. They won't get another chance to. They would go back home if they won a game on your home floor. But you can actually, just by splitting at their home place, you can go home and close it out, and it's just tough on the home court advantage team to have that happen to them. So it looks like that's going to come into effect, maybe even for the 2014 season. So that'll be something to follow over the coming weeks to decide to see what the NBA decides as far as how they're going to go about that, whether or not they will move back to a 2-2-1-1-1. I prefer that style. 2-3-2 has its merits, but just the fact that you can lose a series without getting to come back home for those games that you worked all season to earn is kind of shoddy to me. So baseball news, you've got the last day of the Major League regular season was yesterday. There was a no-hitter by the Miami Marlins, and Alvarez, what was his first name? I want to say right. There's so many of them. Henderson Alvarez, and he was, he no-hit the Detroit Tigers yesterday in a 1-0 win for the Marlins. Although they lost 100 games, they did get a no-hitter on the last game of the season, and they've got something to work toward next year. It's tough going for the Miami Marlins. You got 5 fans to come out and watch you play. That's kind of rough. My Cardinals friends, St. Louis Cardinals fans, friends, very excited yesterday. 3.3 million people came out to watch the Cardinals this year. Incredible fan base. I mentioned this before. They always do it the right way, building from the farm system. They don't go the Yankees route and try to buy all the best talent and just forsake their own farm teams. They build up the right way. It doesn't hurt that one of those farm teams is in Arkansas, that fans from this area like the Cardinals, but it doesn't hurt at all. But the Cardinals win the division, and they are going to the playoffs. The Dodgers, the Atlanta Braves also going to the playoffs. The Oakland Athletics, the Detroit Tigers, the Boston Red Sox, all going to the playoffs, and Cleveland has locked into at least a wild card there in the AL. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh also the wild cards in the NL. So you got 3 NL Central teams going to the playoffs. That's pretty incredible. And it looks like the Texas Rangers, if I'm not mistaken, are going to be in the best shape. Well, the Texas Rangers and Tampa Bay Rays are actually tied for the second wild card, if my math is not mistaking me here, in the major leagues. So baseball playoffs right around the corner. We'll look at a little bit more about that as far as matchups go here in the coming weeks, because I told you I'm not a big baseball fan, but I will share some info on baseball, and I will let you chime in anytime you feel the need. You can call us at 968-NEWS anytime Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between 11 and noon. It's 968-6397. Or you can come to Facebook.com/SportsBlitz and be involved in the show. You can answer our CrossFit Russellville poll question every week. We've got a different one Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Today's, for example, is despite the loss that the Razorbacks took on Saturday, what were the biggest positives that you came away with? There were a bunch of positives. I'll give you my love and what I loved, what I hated about the Razorbacks on Saturday. And for the first time all year, my hates are all things that can be and will be, I believe, improved upon in the coming years, and things that I feel like Arkansas can do better. It's not, I hate, last week I hated the fact that A.J. Derby had to play. No offense to the guy, I just didn't think he was very good. I hated the fact that it wasn't Austin Allen out there, who I thought could have given Arkansas another chance to win. That's neither here nor there. That was 2 weeks ago, but that was one of my hates. This week, you'll see some things that I thought about the game and why I think that Arkansas is in good shape, in good hands, although they have lost their second game in a row, and they're going into a horrendous part of the schedule, traveling to Florida this week, and you've got South Carolina, Alabama in a row. Who else is there? There's somebody else in there. There's 5 games. It was A&M, Florida, South Carolina, Alabama, and then one more that I'm just blanking on right now. And then you have LSU down the stretch. Ole Miss is in there somewhere, Mississippi State. Auburn. They've got some winnable games left, but they're in a 5-game stretch right now, started on Saturday, that is just tough as can be. I want to look at the positives. I want to look at the negatives real quickly, and I want to talk a little bit more about the NFL, but we're going to hit our second break here. Jason Kilburn will be on the line, back from a cruise, enjoyed himself. He'll be on the line here shortly to talk with us about the NFL and also the Razorbacks. So we've got plenty more to cover. Stay with us.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the 4s.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Welcome back to the Sports Blitz on a Monday. Got some good things to talk about today. I was negative a lot last week, a lot of people would say, and I have to put on a happy face today. Maddie Lassiter with me, Mark Freeman in the Cogswell Motors studio. We're joined by Jason Kilburn on the line. Had a good time on a cruise. Didn't get to watch a lot of sports last week, but did get to catch the Razorbacks on Saturday, right, Jason?
Yes, I did.
Well, it's good to have you back. Glad to be talking some sports with you. At least Saturday in the game, it didn't quite go like I expected.
No, me neither. I thought it was going to be a blowout, really. But Arkansas hung tough, and they played good.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Razorbacks here in just a minute, but we would be remiss if we talk football without starting with Peyton Manning. I told you earlier, 16 touchdowns to no interceptions through 4 games. What an incredible display of the quarterback, but the mastery of the quarterback position that Peyton Manning's showing right now. 52-20 win over the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday. And my Dallas Cowboys, we talked about the NFC least. They're going to have a chance to win that division. Who knows if they'll even break 500 if they'll get to 9 wins. But Dallas gave up 400 yards passing to Phillip Rivers yesterday, and now they've got Peyton Manning coming in this Sunday. Peyton Manning, though, one interesting thing, Jason, that I saw just a little while ago, Jason McIntyre posted this to Twitter, is that Peyton Manning is 9-11 in the playoffs with 8 one-and-dones in his playoff career. He's gone in the playoffs as most of the time, a higher seed and lost in the first game 8 times in his career. The last playoff win that Peyton Manning has in his career was on January 24th, 2010. 3 years since Peyton Manning last won a playoff game. I guess that was the Super Bowl year when they won and got through to the Super Bowl and lost to the New Orleans Saints. That's been a long time for Peyton Manning. It looks like he's sort of trying to exercise some demons so far, Jason.
Yeah, it does, man. That's a pretty interesting fact there. I would have never in my wildest dreams guessed that. But, yeah, Peyton Manning, he's just having a great year. He always has great years. He's one of the smartest quarterbacks that I've ever seen play, and he doesn't have the strongest arm, but he always gets it where it needs to be. He's a good quarterback.
Yeah, man, he is basically becoming right now the I don't want to say prototype because they're not making everything. Nobody's exactly like him. He's the gold standard. He's the guy that everybody's just like, look, this is how the quarterback position is played. I remember having conversations with my boy Ryan Martin a couple years ago about Tom Brady. Tom Brady's good, but Peyton Manning will make you a superstar, and he's mastered the position. Just overall, the things that he's done, just incredible. Looking at the NFL slate that was yesterday, the New England I keep calling teams by the wrong name, Maddie. What's my problem? New England Patriots win 30-23 over Atlanta. They were actually up 30-13 in that game, and Atlanta rolled off 10 points in a row, actually had the ball inside their home 15-yard line with a chance to go tie it. 4 downs, couldn't score. The Patriots come out with the win. We mentioned Denver winning. Washington gets a 24-14 win over Oakland. Darren McFadden goes out with another injury. Some of these interesting games of the week. Detroit beat Chicago 40-32. Big comeback from Chicago to even get back in that one. Kansas City sends the New York Giants to 0-4, 31-7 win. The writing may be on the wall for Tom Coughlin. I asked the question yesterday, how much do those 2 Super Bowls weigh right now as far as how long is the leash for Tom Coughlin? Because if you can't go too much further without people saying, especially in New York, have they quit on him, Jason? Is there hope for the season? Is there hope that Tom Coughlin can bring this team back around? I'm not sure he can survive too many more losses.
I agree with you. And the NFL is so much of what have you done for me lately? It doesn't matter if you've won Super Bowls in the past. It's what have you done for me now? Where are we going now? When's our next chance to win? And Coughlin, with no running back there, he is just went downhill quickly. And Eli Manning's having a decent year, man, but they need more weapons on offense. I hate to say that because Victor Cruz is good, and I like Victor Cruz, but they need a good running game to complement the passing game. I'm with you. I think Tom Coughlin's days are numbered.
Well, it looks like if he doesn't get it straightened out, that there's not really a whole lot of hope. In the next few weeks, you'll decide if they lose a couple more games in a row, or really if they fall too far behind. As a franchise, where do I don't want to say his days are numbered because he's not a good coach, but really you're looking at the future of the franchise. You may want to start over, and I know this is very premature to even say this, but we're looking down the road and what happens if another team that's 0-4 that you would have never expected. The Pittsburgh Steelers lost 34-27 in London to the Minnesota Vikings. Maddie's team got a win. Adrian Peterson with a nice big long touchdown run again. Seems like he's had a tough go of a lot of games, but he at least breaks one long run, it seems, in every game. So they got the win there. Jason, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers struggling. 13-10 losers to the Arizona Cardinals. Is Greg Schiano going to make it through the year?
Man, I don't know. It's like a circus going on down there. At the beginning of the year, it was Josh Freeman's final year of his contract. I thought he would have a good season. Everybody usually has a good season when it's their contract year. And we had some weapons we brought in. Darrell Revis, we traded for him. They brought in Goldston from the 49ers for a safety. I thought we were going to have a good year, but now everything is just spiraling out of control. The offense is complaining about the defense. The defense is complaining about the offense. I don't know what we're doing down there.
To me, you've still got Darrell Revis, who, coming back from that ACL injury, is still incredible. It's still Revis Island over there whenever he's locking somebody down, which in this day and age in the NFL is just impressive as can be. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like you said, they're a quarterback away from being a pretty good team. They've got offensive weapons. They've got Doug Martin. They've got a defense that's fairly good. They're a quarterback away. I don't think Mike Glennon's the guy. I said it coming in. Although he does have an extremely long neck, I don't think he's the best quarterback for this team, and I never have really cared for him too much. Watching some of those quarterback competitions when he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn from 10 yards away, it was unbelievable to me that a team would draft him as early as they did. So Tampa Bay, they're going to be in the market for a quarterback this summer. It depends on whether or not they get some wins, string some wins together, whether or not they're looking for a coach come offseason. The Indianapolis Colts, they're going to send the Jacksonville Jaguars looking for a lot of things. A lot of different players, maybe some personnel, maybe a coach, maybe some general manager, fans, any logo. Maybe they're going to go on to L.A. They're going to send them looking for a lot. 37-3, the Colts get the win. And probably the most, I don't want to call it the most disappointing game of the day, because the Dallas Cowboys losing the way they did to San Diego was pretty disappointing. But the Houston Texans got a 20-3 lead on Seattle. I lay down to take a little bit of a nappy, Jason, and when I wake up, it's overtime. Seattle gets a bunk call, in my opinion, on a personal foul penalty to put them in field goal range. They get a 23-20 win over Houston and basically cement themselves in the NFC West as the team to beat. And, watching that game yesterday, I was a little bit intrigued by the way the Seattle fought back. I have to give them credit for that. But I don't really like this team, Jason. I don't know what to expect from Seattle coming down the stretch, because at home they're incredible. On the road for 3 quarters of this game, they look like crap.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Mark. Seattle, I thought was going to be a great team, but I thought that the sophomore slump there with Wilson, which he hasn't had just a great year. He's only thrown for, I want to say, over 200 yards just a couple of times. He's not having a good year, but I think he'll get it turned around. Pete Carroll's there, and I think he's a good coach, and I don't think Seattle's got anything to worry about.
Yeah, that Seattle, Pete Carroll, I do not like him. I made this joke yesterday on Twitter about his Owen Wilson smirk, because if you look at him with that crooked nose and all that, he looks just like Owen Wilson when he makes some of those faces. So I'd just like to punch him. It's just, what's that movie? What's that movie? You got that face. It's Step Brothers. He said, you got that. I just want to put one of these right in your suck hole. I just think that's what I want to do to Pete Carroll every time I see him. It's like, dude, you just look like an arrogant jerk. That's why I didn't like USC. It wasn't Matt Leinart or Reggie Bush. I enjoyed watching Reggie Bush play. It was Pete Carroll. Such a jerk. He did run this. He beat the brakes off Arkansas a couple times. So, well, that's probably why. My anger's coming out today. All right, let's hit a break. When we come back, we're going to hit it a little early because we've got a lot of Hog stuff to talk about. I feel like they're coming along well. We'll give you what I loved, what I hated. We can talk with Jason about the Razorbacks' loss to Texas A&M. Eventually this week, we'll preview Florida as well.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peter's Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peter's Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
The Hogs took one, tough one, on Saturday in Fayetteville. 45-33 losers to Texas A&M, the 10th-ranked team in the country with the Heisman Trophy winner. Rolled into town and beat our Razorbacks. But all things considered, I think a lot of people took a lot of positives from that game. It was a complete monsoon for a lot of that game. A lot of rain, a lot of weather came through that area early on. It got better. On the TV in the third quarter, it looked really nasty. In the second quarter, it seemed like it wasn't raining at all, so it was just back and forth. But Hogs, there were some positives, some negatives. Johnny Manziel, as good as he is, they still put up 45 points. Arkansas scoring 33. It was the Mike Evans show in the first half. That's what drove me the most nuts. That Johnny Manziel was able, and I said this a couple weeks ago against Alabama, he's so often able to get away with stuff that you just don't get away with. Somebody called him Brett Favre the other day, with less arm strength and more speed. You substitute the speed for the arm strength there, but he still makes those crazy decisions. But when he's got a guy like Mike Evans, he'll just throw it up in the middle of, you saw it in the Alabama game. He gets away from a defender and just throws one up in the middle of the field. The worst decision you can possibly make is just throw one up in the middle of the field. Mike Evans goes up and gets it. Does it again in the second quarter of the game against Arkansas. Mike Evans goes up and makes a touchdown catch. It's just like he gets rewarded for so many of these stupid decisions that eventually it's going to come back and bite him, especially in the NFL. You do not do that on a consistent basis like he does in college and get away with it. But I've saw some things that I love, saw some things that I didn't. I loved the crowd participation. I loved the fact that I heard a couple of people who went to the game said, Jordan Rose, a friend of mine from church, said, I saw a crowd that, 99% of the crowd stayed, even through all the bad weather, to the very end of the game. And that doesn't happen for Razorback fans most of the time. They're walking back down the hill. They're getting a head start because traffic sucks in Fayetteville after a big game. And they stayed. They were loud. The enthusiasm was incredible. You could hear it through the TV. The energy was palpable there. I loved that. Jason, I was proud of the fact that the Razorbacks fought, and it didn't look at any point in that game like the Razorbacks felt like they were overmatched. I love that.
Yeah, and it seems like they were competitive all game long. They never got their head down. They never quit. There was always a desire there, that we can beat this team, and they kept just trying to chip away and chip away and chip away, and we just couldn't get over that hump. I thought that first drive there in the third quarter, I thought it was a huge drive. I thought if we could go down and at least get a field goal or something, that would have put us right in the game. But that pick six there on third down was a humongous play. But they played good. They played hard. I thought Jim Chaney did a great job of calling the plays. The first half was a balanced game. He had 18 rushes and 18 passes. I don't know if Arkansas has probably ever had that. And, Houston Nutt was always run. Petrino was always throw. So I don't know if we've ever had a balance like that. I thought the defense played good at times. That was Johnny Manziel's lowest total yards of any start in his career. So I wouldn't really say we held him in check, but like you were saying, he threw up a bunch of Hail Marys. A couple plays to Evans, which Evans is great, man. He'll go up and get it. the one that he threw up in the end zone, I cannot believe there wasn't a Razorback defender to go up there and knock that down.
Yeah.
And that was a big play. Another couple big plays that I thought was big was, we held them to a couple punts there in the second half. And as soon as they punted to us, we went 3 and out on 2 series that I know of. When you make a team like that punt, a team that's going to be able to put 45 or 50 points on the game, you've got to be able to convert those punts into points. If it's just a field goal, for us to get the ball and then have to turn around and kick it after a 3 and out, I think that was huge. But there were some positives too. It seems like we had some wide receivers that seemed to step up. Keon Hatcher, I thought, played good. They threw back to the tight end again, which is very great because Hunter Henry is one of the more explosive players on offense that we have. And I thought as a whole, though, they competed, and I was proud of the Razorbacks on Saturday.
That's definitely the feel that I got. And while we're on, we're going to get to the positive stuff. While we're on the things, the negatives, so to speak, the things that I quote-unquote hate, there were a couple of things that I didn't like. I didn't like that Johnny Manziel continued to get away with the crap that he pulls, the stupid stuff that there were a couple times where they laid him out, but there were times when he just snuck away and threw it up to Mike Evans, and he got away with just not necessarily a good play. Jason, you brought up in the break a question about what I thought about the 2-point conversion, going for a 2-point conversion so early in the game, and it took Arkansas from a 5-point deficit. They were trying to get it to a 3-point deficit, which we understand would get them to where it was a field goal game. But one of the things you didn't like was the fact that they went for 2 down 5 so early in the game.
Yeah, I've never been a component of going for 2 unless you have to. There's too much time left in the game. We had a whole other quarter to play before we had to decide if we wanted to go for a 2 or not. I've never been a fan of that, and I never will unless you have to go for 2. I don't think you go for 2. That's just my opinion.
And, I see sort of the other side of it because I don't want to chase points like you're saying, but when you're down 5, if you kick that extra point, you're down 4, so you still have to score a touchdown. If you get the 2-point, there was a lot more reward than risk in that to me, because if you kick the extra point, you're down 4, you got to score a touchdown to go ahead. Whether you get it or not, you want to score a touchdown. But if you get it, all you have to do is kick a field goal to tie, and you can't lose when you're tied. So I felt like there was a little more reward than risk there, so I understand what they're doing. But that, to me, when that's the biggest conversation that you can have as far as negatives go, you've had a pretty good day. Knowing, and the fact that you gave up 45 points and that Texas A&M for a lot of the second half was able to just run it down your throat, it is a little disconcerting. But the fact that this is what we're talking about on a Monday, that we see so many positives and that we're wondering about a 2-point conversion, that speaks to me to a growth in this team. And to me, you see a lot in this coaching staff's ability coming out so far. In 5 games, you see what we didn't see at all last year. It was just a flaming pile last year. It was just a mess. And you see the coaching staff's ability coming out. To continue my hates, because we want to turn to love real quickly, there's some personnel issues that I saw that I was just like, yeah, there are some players that are out there that I'd just rather not have to be out there. And then in the next couple of years through recruiting, that will improve. Didn't like the loss. Duh. Who does like a loss? For the crowd's sake. Because when you've got 72,000 fans coming out to games like this, you want to reward them for showing up and for being loud and being crazy. And I want to see Arkansas win one of those types of games where, I predicted 38-17. I was off by a touchdown in this game. I want to see, though, the fans who come out and in a game when everybody expected Arkansas to lose, to just win one of those games to reward them for showing up. And it's not the players' fault. It's not the coach's fault. They just were overmatched in the game. But for the football gods to give Arkansas a win in one of those games, I'd love to see that happen in the near future. And then one thing I didn't like, Jason, was in the second half, you saw after that interception return for a touchdown and Arkansas got it back within 4, A&M basically just said, all right, Alex Collins gets the touchdown run, we're going to run it down your throat. We're not going to let you come back. We're going to impose our will on you offensively. Texas A&M was able to do that. Arkansas wants to get to the place to where they can impose their will defensively on a team. I understand, the personnel issues that I spoke of. are part of what caused Arkansas to not be able to impose their will. But, Jason, one of the things I didn't like was that Texas A&M was able to do that offensively and Arkansas wasn't defensively.
Yeah, I agree with that, Mark. It just seems like, the strength of our team is our defensive line. And to me, I don't think our defensive line played good the other night. I think we never really got a good pass rush, and we never could stop the run. Like you were saying, they just, in the second half, they just ran it right down our throat, and there was nothing we could do. And I think, that probably has something to do with us thinking that Johnny Manziel is probably going to throw a little bit more, and he's going to run a little bit more. So we're going to try to get some of our smaller guys, faster guys in there, because most of the time it was Dietrich Wise was playing a lot of defensive tackle, and he's normally a defensive end. But we couldn't stop the run in the second half. It was disappointing to see that.
Well, really the difference in the game, if you look at the score, Arkansas loses by 2 touchdowns. They had 2 turnovers in the game. You take those 2 turnovers away, one of them directly led to 7 points. If you take those 7 points off the board for Texas A&M, I know you can't do that. It's 38-33, and Arkansas had the ball, had a chance to go down and score. That game looks completely different. I don't blame Brandon Allen on that interception because he was baited into it, and that defensive player just made an incredible play. Stepped back and made that throw open. Brandon Allen made the right read, and when he goes to he eyed the receiver down. When he goes to throw it, corner breaks, and when the point of no return happens and Brandon's got that ball leaving his hand, it was one of those, I knew, and he knew whenever he let go of that ball, that's all she wrote. He can't pull it back. And that guy, I think it was DeShazer Everett or something similar to that, runs that interception back for a touchdown. Let's switch over, though. Let's look at the positives because there were so many of them. I have to get to the positives in the game. I love the crowd. I love the play calling, like Jason said. The long pass, 50-plus yard pass to Hunter Henry was a beautifully drawn-up play. The fact that they were able to sneak him out, I wish he was a little faster because he was 10 yards clear of anybody and I got hawked down. But that neither here nor there. He did make a good play. Hunter Henry and some of these young players, Jason, 100 yards receiving for Hunter Henry, 100 yards rushing for Alex Collins, 200-plus yards passing, 282 to be exact, and 3 touchdowns for Brandon Allen. You saw Jonathan Williams make one of the gutsiest plays on that touchdown reception that I've seen in a long time. There's so much positive to take from this game. That's why I think a lot of us are excited.
Yeah, another thing I really liked, having Dan Skipper and Denver Kirkland at guard.
Yes. They look very good.
I thought they looked really good.
In pass protection especially, they were very good. I was impressed, and they were talking about it all night about how Brandon Allen was just back there with all day a lot of different times. And it helped that Arkansas was able to run for 201 yards, that the balance was there. Pass for 282, run for, 201, and pass for 282. That balance is there, and I really enjoyed watching Arkansas get to a place to where it wasn't boring. It wasn't, for lack of a better term, I hate to bash somebody, but Houston Nutt football where, the only time they threw the ball was a little boring tight end drag or fullback out of the flats, whatever it was, or just one receiver just run a go and throw it to him once every 10 plays just so you can say you passed. It wasn't that way. Arkansas was exciting on offense. They made the use of, like you mentioned, Jason, Keon Hatcher. Really loved watching that guy because we've heard good things about him, and in the coming years, he is going to have to be a guy that Arkansas can rely on. But when you look at the skill position players that Arkansas has, you look at the fact that Jonathan Williams is a sophomore, Brandon Allen's a sophomore, Hunter Henry and Alex Collins are freshmen, Keon Hatcher's a young guy. They've got so much talent that's coming up in the near future. You can see the potential of this team to be really, really good in the near future.
Yeah, I think so too. I was telling somebody today actually that we were going over the depth chart that they have, and we start, I forget exactly the number. I'm going to say, I'm sorry, I can't come up with the number. Like 7 on offense that are redshirt sophomores or younger, and something to that similar on defense. And I told them here in 2 years, maybe not next year. I think next year we will be improved. But if everybody comes back and everybody's healthy like they should be, in 2 years, I could see us going to another BCS bowl game.
Well, that'd be nice. Wouldn't that be nice if Arkansas was able to take some of the talent that they've got, some good talent. And then in the next couple of years, you're going to get a Ty Story, you're going to get a Rafe Peavy, you're going to get Jermaine Illuminor as an offensive lineman who's a big-timer. You've got some really good recruits coming in. One of the top tight ends in the country from Plantation, Florida, home of Alex Collins, came and put Arkansas number 1. There was a report that I actually retweeted that said he committed, but I don't know if that's true or not. I think he just put Arkansas number 1 on his list. You've got talent coming in the near future. These coaches, if the staff is able to stay together, will be able to put together a team on the field that can compete. I want to see some linebackers come in. I want to see some defensive recruits. The defensive line, I think, is going to be solid for several more years. I'd like to see some linebackers and secondary guys come in, but it looks good right now. And watching the A&M game, to me, and Jason, I think it did the same thing to you, gave you a lot of hope for the future.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad. I was anxious to see how they was going to bounce back after, that the Rutgers loss. When they were up so big, and then for Rutgers to come back, I like how the team bounced back from that loss. It showed a lot of not willing to give up on the season. Like last year, we probably would have got beat the rest of the year if that would have happened.
You're right.
It shows that this team is bought into the system that Bielema has brought, and they're going to fight for everything that they got.
Oh, you're definitely right. And this next week, they got another tough one coming up as they are traveling to the Swamp to take on Florida. Florida did lose their quarterback last week for the year, Jeff Driscoll. Now, they went on and won anyway with a backup quarterback who brought them a little bit of pop to the offense. So we'll see how Arkansas is able to acquit themselves on the road when that crowd's going against them. Brandon Allen in this offense, though, I feel like they're going in the right direction. I look forward to a close game this week, although Florida's defense is much better than Texas A&M, so it's going to be a tall test. Jason, are you going to be able to call in some other time this week?
Yeah, I should be calling in on Wednesday.
All right, Jason, thank you for your time today, man.
All right, thanks for having me on.
Not a problem. As Jason Kilburn calls in to give us some expert analysis from a season ticket holder to the Razorbacks. Thank you for your time today, Jason. Thank you for watching today on the Sports Blitz. We're going to break down the Arkansas-Florida game on Wednesday. We'll look at some more sports headlines, high school, college, NFL, Major League Baseball, and much more on Wednesday. But that's all the time we have for today. For Maddie Lassiter and Jason Kilburn, I'm Mark Freeman. So long. We'll see you at 11 o'clock on Wednesday.